All right, y'all. Tonight we got another school owner on here tonight. Every Wednesday we meet. We love having school owners so they can share their stories to tell us how they got to where they are, because we have a lot of potential school owners that need the motivation, the encouragement, the roadmap, the blueprint. But I've been stalking his page for a long time, stalking him secretly. And I've been trying to get him on here, and we finally got Mr. Walk on here. Now, he's done a lot. He's not your typical school owner. He's been in the military. He's been a principal, graduated from college in mathematics. Most school owners are usually people that were a barber, most are stylists or nail tech all their life, and then they decide to go to the next level. So I know he's got a very interesting story. I'm not going to take up the time. First, I want to thank you for coming on, but tell us, first start from your childhood, and then we're going to segue on up through this.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having me on again. I'm Kerry Walker, school owner of Clipper Kings Barber School, and out of Atlanta, Georgia. So, my beginnings was, single mother, 4 kids, just trying to get by, my mom and trying to raise four kids on her own. But, when I got out of high school, I ended up going to the military. It was one of those things where I had to get out of the city and kind of get away from people I grew up with. And so I joined the military and was stationed in Hawaii. So I had a wonderful duty station. And, I ended up getting out military. I just signed up for one tour when I got out of the military, came back and ended up going to barber school. A couple of years after I got out, I went to barber school. So that was the beginning of my journey. The military was the thing that kind of changed my mindset, showed me being in Hawaii, being out of the country, kind of opened my eyes to a different world, and gave me a bunch of discipline that I didn't have. And then I went to barber school. I actually went to barber school with my brother. He had cut all his life as a kid, and he kind of talked me into it. He's like, hey, let's go to barber school. And I had never cut hair a day in my life. So I just looked at him and I was like, hey, man, I don't know how to cut hair. And he was like, it's a school. They're going to teach you how to cut hair. So that was the beginning right there. And I graduated barber school in 97. So. Can't hear you.
Your friends that grew up with you in the hood, you left and went to the military. What did they do?
When I came back, a lot of them was, where I left them at. They were just hanging out in the streets. Some of them, none of the friends that I really grew up with, they were really doing anything. They were just working jobs, just regular jobs for real. Yeah.
Now, in barber school, since you had never cut hair in your life, what was that like?
Well, it was interesting, man, because I was a little nervous going in, and but the part that I kind of gravitated to at the beginning was the book side. You get a lot of barbers in barber school, they forget that there's you got to take tests and you got to do all of these chapters, and you got to, a lot of people think you go and you just start cutting hair. And so when I went in, I really loved the book side of the work. So I was, they used to tease me because at one point I think it was maybe the first 14 tests, I had 100% on every test. And so it started to be kind of funny to everybody. They couldn't wait for him to grade my test. And they used to call me K Walker. They said, what did K Walker get? What did K Walker get? And the instructor would just shake his head and be like, you got another 100. So the book side was real fun, man. And actually, by the time I graduated, the instructor and the owner, they voted me best all around barber because I didn't mind learning how to cut straight hair, and a lot of my friends didn't want to cut straight hair, so they could fade better than me and do certain things better than me. But overall, I had them all beat because I learned how to cut straight hair. I got good with the shears and everything like that, and so believe it or not, I went in not knowing how to cut hair, and I came out the best all around barber in my class. So it was interesting.
When you graduated, Kerry, what did you do?
When I first graduated, man, I went right into a shop, shop in the neighborhood, and I worked there, man, for my first year. Did very well. I had to build clientele a little different because our city I was from Louisville, Kentucky, and it's kind of a lot of the Black people know each other, so it's small in that sense. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have any clientele, and everybody knew that I didn't know how to cut. So when I got out and then I started saying I was a barber, people was kind of like, for real? I was like, so man, I would ask the shop owner, could I open up on Sundays and Mondays? Because that's the days when we were closed. And he gave me the key and he was like, yeah, you want to come in here on Sundays and Mondays? And so that's how I built my clientele up, man. I looked up on Sundays and Mondays and I'd have 7 or 8 people on a Sunday, 7, 8 on a Monday. And I did that for like 4 or 5 months before I told them people that I'm not doing Sundays and Mondays anymore. And but after 5 or 6 months, I had just as much clientele as everybody else in the shop, and I was making $1,000 a week as a young barber. That was good money. $1,000 a week 30 years ago, it was good money.
So you were working at that shop, then what did you do next?
Yeah, so then after that, I think I was cutting maybe 2 or 3 years. And then I had money to go to college from being in the military. And so I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna use that money. And so I went and signed up for college at the University of Louisville. And then I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do though, because I never really thought about going to college. And so I just kept going back to my high school time. And I was like, so, what was you good at in high school? And, I remember being good at math, and so I said, I'm gonna get a math degree. And I set my barbering schedule around my college schedule. And, I did that, man. It took me 4 years. 4 years to get my bachelor's, and 1 extra year, 5 years total, got my master's. And the whole time I cut hair, the whole time I was married at that time, taking care of my family with my barbering money. And then I was getting my degrees. And so, I made sure I used barbering, to take me to the next level, because you get a lot of freedom with that schedule and stuff like that. I remember being in the barbershop. Like I said, I was doing that for 5 years. I remember being in the barbershop studying in between cuts, and I had all my books right there at the barbershop, and that was kind of funny to a lot of brothers too, because they would always come in and see me in my chair studying my math books, and they'd be like, look at him studying, and but I used to always tell them, I was like, this is gonna pay off, it's gonna pay off one day, I was the little joke of the barbershop. Look at him over here studying, but
Now, so then you graduated from college, then you got your master's, then what?
Then I cut for 1 more year. So I was teaching and I was get off and I would cut hair. So I did that for a year. And then I said, it started becoming too much. So I said, all right, I'm gonna take a break from the barbering. But I think about that time is when my brother, he had moved down to Atlanta, and he had called me up, and he was a barber here, so he moved down there and started cutting hair, and then he was talking to shop owners down there, and so he called me up and he said, "Man, you can make a lot of money owning a shop down here in Atlanta." And so I went into business with him. Even though I was teaching here in Louisville, I put money up, and he went and got our first barbershop, and I did all the books and everything from Louisville, and he did the day-to-day, managing barbers and stuff like that.
Now, when did it hit you to start thinking about opening a school?
The school came about, I think it was maybe we ended up opening up 4 shops total. Right before COVID hit. I think we had opened the 4th one up a year before COVID hit. So the first one was opened in 2012, and then the last one opened in 2019. And I think it was right before we opened the 4th one, it started we were seeing problems trying to get barbers into the shops. Some of the skills that they were coming in with, some of the business skills, some of the just customer service skills and stuff. And I, just like a lot of people do, sometimes you look at stuff and you say, you know what, I think I could do that better than so-and-so. I mean, that's what motivates people. And I felt at the time that I could probably use my educational background and my barbering background, put them together. And I thought I could educate barbers, better or just as good as the schools that were doing them at that time. So that was kind of the motivations. Like, you know what, we can produce better barbers if we open our own school. It wasn't just for, a lot of people think you open a school so you can staff your own shop. I mean, of course, that's in your mind, but in the end, I mean, the school's going to get bigger than shops that you can staff unless you got, 10, 15 or 20 shops. Everybody can't go to your shop, So, yeah, it was just more we thought we could educate them better.
So did you tell anybody you was going to open a school at the time before you opened it?
No, we told, me and my brother, we told a couple of friends that we were going to open a school, but we really didn't. None of our barbers knew that worked for us. Though, we didn't really tell anyone. We just kind of jumped into it without telling too many people.
Okay, so on the journey, so you opened a school. Tell us about that, because we got a lot of people on here. We got a few people that have schools, but then we got some, they're still working in the shop. Some own a shop and they're thinking about getting a school. So can you kind of go through that a little bit with them? And then some of them on here are fearful, scared.
Yeah, we reached out to No Grease out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
North Carolina, the twins.
Yeah, the twins. We met them. They had come down to Atlanta and they did a symposium. They had their own symposium, and my brother went, and that's when he met them. And so when we started thinking about doing the school, we knew they had one in Charlotte. So we reached out to them and basically asked them, we said, hey, if we fly out there, can you all show us your school? Can you help us? And they were real nice and cordial. And they was like, yeah, they didn't think we were going to do it because they said a lot of people had reached out to them before, but nobody really followed through, Even
did you go to Park West? Were you at Park West or the other school?
Yeah, they were. We were at that one that used to be Park West in the Walmart. I think it was. Yeah. And so, man, we flew out there, and man, they took us to the school, took us to the shops, and just kind of answered all of our questions. Just let us interview them. We asked them, I had 2 or 3 pages of questions, and they answered everything, and we ended up going out to the cigar bar later that evening, and it was great, man. And they gave us their handbook,
Mhm.
and that kind of is what I needed to get started, because I could create a handbook from scratch, because I've been in education for so long. I've been a principal at elementary level. I've been an assistant principal at a high school. I've been assistant principal at a middle school. I was a teacher trainer for 2 years. I trained teachers how to teach. And for 7 years, I taught math. So I could create a manual on my own, but we were trying to do this thing quickly. See,
Mhm.
they thought when we came out to see them, maybe we opened one up in 5 years. But after we came out there, man, we started looking for places immediately, and we had a lease signed in like 2 or 3 months. So we were moving quick. And so I needed to save some time instead of trying to create everything from scratch. They just gave me the handbook, man. And they was like, look, just use what you want, take out what you don't want. And that was a quicker start for me to wrap my mind around. So going through their handbook started kind of, because even though I was in education, I didn't never have a barber school. And so
Mhm.
I wasn't really sure, I had went to barber school 30 years ago. So I wasn't sure exactly how they run today. You know what I mean? So going through their handbook and all of that kind of is like, oh, okay, this is how barber schools are running. So, people that are on that journey, I think you want to start just by print out a handbook of somewhere. Go through the handbook. Look how they running it on paper. It gives you a good understanding of day-to-day operations and stuff like that.
How did you feel like working in the shops every day?
Like working what now?
When you were working in the shops, how did you feel working in the shops versus owning the school? Because you've been on both sides. Tell them about that.
Okay, well, when I was working in the shops, um, like you said, I only did it for, I guess, about 6 or 7 years that I cut in the shops. But one of my well, he wasn't really a friend, but somebody I knew that owned the first one. I was watching him, and I was like, the kind of person I am, I always just watch people and observe. And that's kind of what got me to want to be a principal. I sat back and I was watching a principal be a principal, and I kept going, I can do that. I kept going like, I've talked to this guy. I'm just as smart as him. I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's how I operate, you know, and that's kind of the same thing with the opening up the school, instead of working in the shop and opening the school, open your own shop. I just always would look at whoever was above me, and I would say, watch him for a while. And I say, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's not me trying to say that I'm smarter than anybody, but that's just me saying, I feel like I can go toe to toe with anybody. So if you can do it, I can do it. I just need to figure out how to do it, how to get it started. But the running of businesses and stuff like that, I mean, we've been doing businesses, me and my brother, for a while, because we owned a restaurant too. Back in Louisville, we owned a restaurant. We also owned an advertising agency at one point. So I've done a lot of business and signed a lot of leases and stuff over the years. So, but yeah, I mean, owning is it, you're able to bring your vision to life, and sometimes a lot of money can come with it, and sometimes it doesn't, so that's what I tell some of the people that want to own shops. Okay, you want to own a shop, or you want to own a shop just so you can be the boss and so you can run it your way, or do you want to open a shop to make money? Because sometimes people just open shops because they can keep their money that they make, and the shop really just breaks even. It's not like some of these shop owners are getting rich. They just own the shop, and they don't make much more than anybody else. But if that's what you want to do, if you want to open it just to have your own, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to open it to make money, then that's a whole different ball game. If you want to open up 2, 3, 4 shops and make a whole bunch of money, But I like ownership. Ownership has definitely been good to me over the years. But I think, a lot of people got to remember, owners, as the owner, you work harder than you do as the employee, So you're going to work harder as an owner. You don't work less, you work more. The more successful you are, the more hours you work.
Now, how did you come up with your logo?
So my brother's wife, she's an artist. She's just real artistic. She can draw and all these things like this. But we came up our logo. We wanted a logo that spoke to everybody. And so it was really important to us. We didn't want our logo to speak to Black people, white people, one group. We wanted to speak to everybody. So if you look at our logo, you may love it, but guess what? There's a white guy that loves it. There's a Black woman that loves it. There's a white woman that loves it. And that was by design. We designed our logo to be attractive to anybody. I could open up a Clipper Kings and staff it with white barbers in a white neighborhood for white people, and that logo wouldn't have to change.
Now, with this logo, you got like education, you got the diploma, you got the clipper, and you got the graduate hat. So you have everything in there. Tell us about your first, I guess the first day or the first student when you opened the school.
Let's see. It's been 2.5 years that we've been open. I feel like we started with like 5 or 6. We started with like 5 or 6 people signed up, and we were just like really excited. Most of them were young Black guys in their early 20s. Our first 5 or 6 students. Man, we just couldn't even believe we had got open, because we opened in July of 2020, which COVID hit in March 2020, and everything started shutting down in like April and May. Everything started shutting down, and somehow we were able to open up July 21st or something. We were able to open. So I mean, it was a miracle that we even got opened. It was crazy. We was trying to still get the contractors to get permits, and the city hall was shut down, and but so just to get open, we were all excited. Our first students, they were excited. Owning shops and owning a school, it brought a different level of respect for students, because sometimes students, they just go, oh, you're just a school owner, you don't know anything about barbershops. And so seeing that we had shops, they were more willing to listen to us, because the thing about being able to educate anybody is if they won't listen to you, you can't educate them. So being shop owners brought a lot of credibility to the school, because they were like, oh, you got shops in a school. So when you stand in front of them in the school and you tell them something, they have to take your word for it, because they can't go, well, you ain't been in the shop, or you don't own the shop. That's like, oh no, he does own the shop and he is in the shop. So it was good. It was good.
I want to go back through your page again. because I want you to kind of talk about some of the stuff in here. And
Oh yeah, let me talk about that first one up there at the top. See where we all got our robes on right there?
yes,
Man, that was just recently. That was not even a month ago. That was our first graduation. So we had a graduation we graduated 19 people since we opened. And which is not bad because, I mean, it takes a year before anybody can graduate. But we graduated 19 people. It's not 19 people in the photo. Only, I think 9 people responded that said they could make it to the graduation or whatever, but it really was 19 that could have attended. But so that was our first graduation. That's me all the way on the right. And then next to me is my wife. And my wife, she's a principal and she's in education. Our whole journey was together. We went in as teachers together, teacher trainers, assistant principals. So she's still a principal right now in that elementary school. And then all those guys in the middle, those are our graduates. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then got our Miss Selena. Yeah, right there. That's our instructor, Miss Selena. One of the best instructors in the state of Georgia. She has been our instructor since we opened. And she's a master barber, master cosmetologist, got her instructor license. She's owned her own salon. And she just does it all. But then on the other end, and then those are 2 graduates from our crossover program. Those 2 ladies right there, they graduated from the crossover program, which means they're already cosmetologists and they were getting their barber license. And then on the end is my brother and his wife, and they're also the owners of the school. So it's 4 of us owners of the school. It's me, my wife, and him and his wife on the other end.
okay, we're gonna go through some more pictures and you can just stop me. I just scroll and you just stop me when you see something that you want to talk about.
Well, yeah, stop right there. Let's go next to the mannequin on the left. Yeah. So that's a picture. Yeah, that's a picture of them in the classroom. Click on that. On that day right here, we brought in, man, I wish I knew can't think of their name right now, but we brought in a agency to talk to the barbers about mental health. And so that was a mental health lesson and teaching the barbers, like, you're the first line of defense. A lot of people get in your chair, start talking to you, telling you stuff. And, you can be the first line of defense to notice if somebody, you can refer your clients to mental health services and different things. And so that was real interesting. Everybody was super locked in. As you can see, everybody's they're actually at the end right here, they were taking a survey. And this group comes back, I think, 2 more times to follow up with them and stuff. But we try to bring in a lot of, different things to the curriculum so that, you just keep switching it up so nobody gets bored with coming to school every day.
You can tell me any others to stop.
Yeah, click on that one in the middle right there. Yeah, right there where you're at. Click on that one. Now go up one.
Go up one.
Leave it right there. Let's watch that video. So this is a day that everybody in there. Everybody in there was cutting hair, man. Everybody was locked in. We had like 6 or 7 students cutting at one time, and that's all there was in there. It was like 6 or 7 that day. And I love those days, man, when everybody's cutting, because they get that barbershop feel, and they're talking to their clients and looking across the room, see everybody's cutting and stuff. So that's dope.
Now
But
those
as you
are
see,
really nice.
yeah, we got the school's real nice, man. It's 3,300 square feet. We got 17 stations, and we've had at times all 17 stations full and everybody cutting a couple of times over the last 2.5 years. And on those times, you really just puts a smile on your face, when you see 17 barbers, 17 barber students cutting at the same time. It's like, man, we really doing something here. But I like education, you know, as you know, I've been in it. And so at the end of the day, I just like to see people learn. Oh, yeah, click on the board game, man, and talk about that real quick. Click on that.
This one?
Yeah, click on that. So we developed a board game. It's called Clipper Kings, the game. And when you first look at it, you know, you start thinking Monopoly. It's not a spin on Monopoly. So don't think Monopoly. It's a board game and it has money in it, but it's not Monopoly. It's not like, you know how Monopoly will make you a board game if you want them, but it's still Monopoly. They just changed the names. This is not this. It's a total educational board game and fun that will teach you about the business of barbering. It's a square on that board. When you land on it, it says you didn't get an exclusive. A shop opened up right next to you. And that one square, the students landed on it a couple of times. You know, I let them play it as part of our curriculum, so they get to play that game. And I asked the student, I said, what does that mean? A shot, you didn't have an exclusive. And he just shrugged his shoulders. I'm like, you playing the game. Everything that we put on this board game means something. Like there's a lesson in every square, a lesson in every card, a lesson in everything on that game. And then I said, have you ever seen like a shop open up next to a shop, like in a plaza? He's like, yeah. And I said, well, you know why that is, don't you? He's like, nah. I said, because the first shop didn't get an exclusive. He's like, what is that? I'm like, an exclusive means when you negotiate your contract, you tell them no other barbershop can open while I'm here. He said, can you do that? I said, all you got to do is ask for it and get them to agree to it. But that game, man, we'll be selling that game soon. We've been shopping it around to game makers and trying to just get the cost a little lower before we push it out on the market.
Okay. Yeah, that's real neat. Everybody they're gonna need that game.
It's a must-have, I'm telling you. When we get that out there, anybody in the hair industry should get that game.
Yeah, that looks very interesting. All right, we'll keep scrolling. Does it help them pass the test too?
It's geared to the business side of
The business. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not going to help them pass their test. But I'll say this: we don't have any problem with students passing the test. Miss Selena, we do a state board prep at the end, and she is so thorough and intent, and it's intense. Some of the students get a little frustrated at the end, but we haven't had. I think we've had. Nobody has failed the practical exam from Clipper Kings Barber School yet. So nobody has failed the hands-on part. We've had like 1 or 2 barbers fail the written, where the multiple choice, but yeah, our state board prep it's top notch. We may do some state board prep classes here in the future. We always said we would one day, and it's getting close to one day.
Any other pictures you want me to click on? Or
no, I mean, you can tell looking from our feed that it's a very diverse. The clientele is diverse. The student population is diverse, and that's kind of why we put it in Lilburn. Lilburn is a very diverse area.
okay. Do you got some time, Kerry, for some Q&A?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I know y'all got some questions. Let me see. This is the time for y'all to start asking Kerry some questions. So he's open right now.
That one right there.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of our first pictures, probably, because you can see everything looks brand new. There aren't any capes. Like we got our own capes with our logo on it. I don't see the capes on the chairs and stuff. So yeah, that was one of our first posts when we was just opening up, just looking for instructors, and we put the school, the inside of the school, the classroom, and then the outside on that post right there.
Now, how has it benefited you with you owning the school, but having your license and everything too? Because some people ask that question, should they have a license, like an instructor's license to teach at their own school? So can you answer that?
Well, my thing is, if you're a barber or a stylist, you open a school, then you start the instructor program. Yeah, you need to put yourself in your in your own instructor program. I mean, that's what I did. I didn't have my instructor license when we opened. I hired Miss Selena, and then as soon as we opened, I signed myself up in an instructor program. So that whole first year, I was teaching and stuff under the instructor program. And so then when that year was up, I went and took my test and got my instructor license. So every school owner should, if they can, sign yourself up for your instructor program and give yourself your license. You want to have your license because you don't want anybody to have leverage on you. When you hire an instructor, you don't want that instructor to ever think that you can't run that school without them. As soon as they think they got you over a barrel, then they want more money, they want this, they want to talk crazy to you. Get your instructor's license so they know at any time now, I can come in here and do it myself.
Somebody said, how much do instructors get paid?
I think in Atlanta, I mean, I interviewed a lot of people and asked them what they made at other places, and I got anywhere from, I couldn't get anybody that would take less than $15 an hour. So I think they make anywhere from $15 an hour up to, at some of the bigger schools, I know they're making like $25, $30 an hour.
What or how do you teach for the instructor program?
I was teaching everything. I was teaching, the crossover, the instructor, and the barbering program.
How many staff members does it take to run a school?
Well, let me say this, if you don't have a Miss Selena, it's gonna take you a couple of people, but really, I mean, they say you need one staff member for 22 students, but that person's supposed to be teaching. So, if they're gonna ring customers up and they're gonna do the paperwork and all of this stuff, it's gonna have to be somebody that's really motivated, and you probably have to pay them a little more than you would pay them.
I know Nick at C&K Barber School, he got accredited. He's going through the Department of Ed, and he was a one-man show, but that's very rare. Let's see.
Yeah, that's tough.
Always have your own conditions on. All right. I want to thank you, Carrie, for coming on and sharing your story and answering all these questions from everybody, because they asked a lot of questions.
I appreciate it, man. Sorry I couldn't stick to the schedule from last time.
No, I'm just glad you came on. Now, we always end with the guest theme song. So what's your theme song?